Hey guys, I'm here with Pastor Jim Lyon. He just came in. He's our guest speaker for our upcoming annual conference. And I just picked him up in Fresno Airport, and we had a great lunch together, and we're driving from Fresno here to Exeter. So we're here at one of the murals in downtown Exeter. One of the things that we are talking about is the power of language. And Jim has been laying out some language for the Church of God that I think has been really magnetic for me. I think it's been very visionary, and I really appreciate the things that he's been laying out. And so one of the phrases is Jesus is the subject. And I wanted Jim to be able to speak to that so that you could hear the heart behind and the story behind how that even came about as some of the language that he was using as he's been the general director for Church of God. Jim, tell us a little bit about Jesus as the subject and how that kind of came about.
Hey, thanks, Michael. So glad to be with you here in Exeter. What a beautiful day and beautiful place. In 2013, I was asked to consider becoming the general director at Church of God Ministries. And as I thought about that and prayed about it, I really struggled because I had a pastoral assignment that I loved. I wasn't looking for a new post, and I wasn't sure I should make the change.
Yeah.
I prayed repeatedly over 4 months and wrestled with God, and every time I asked the question, should I take this job or not, the only thing I could get out of God, the only impression of my heart was this phrase: Jesus is the subject. Honestly, it frustrated me because I get that Jesus is a big idea, but that's not the answer to the question. The question is, should I take the job?
Yeah.
Finally, in April of 2013, after many months had passed, I was feeling pressure from the people asking me to take the job to make a decision to fish or cut bait. I got on my knees. I said, God, read my lips. Should I take the job? Don't give me that Jesus the subject deal. I got that. But the question is, should I take the job? Can you give me a yes or no? And honestly, I was overwhelmed by the sense of Jesus is the subject.
Yeah.
And I was angry because I thought, hey, seek and you shall find. I'm asking a question, give me an answer. But the Lord then took me another step further, and this is what he impressed upon me deeply, unforgettably. He said, yes, the answer is Jesus is the subject, because I want you to take the job, and I want you to encourage my people to stop talking about themselves, to stop talking about the church, and start talking about my son.
That's good.
If my son is at the center of every conversation, the church will be fine. As I began to reflect upon that and experience it myself, I realized its power, because all of us are defined by an idea or a relationship or both. And the thing that we consider to be the primary subject is what will define our trajectory. And I grew up in a church that talked a lot about the church. Good people, they loved Jesus, but boy, the name of the church, the structure of the church, the organization of the church, the way it rolled, how it was compared to other churches, that was kind of the groove. But the subject is Jesus. He's the Alpha and Omega.
Yeah.
He's the beginning and the end. He's the Lord of Lords and King of Kings. He's the water of life, the bread of life. He's the exact representation of God in human form. He is our Savior. He is our Master. He is our friend. He is everything.
Yeah.
So as I began to think about that in my own ministry, my own personal walk, I thought, well, that means if Jesus is the subject, I have to constantly take the pulse of Christ. And by that I mean, I began to think about what's the pulse of Jesus? And when I take my own pulse, I can tell what are my passions. What makes my blood run fast because I'm excited or I'm worked up? And what just doesn't affect my pulse because I don't care that much? I want to align my pulse with the pulse of Christ. And sometimes I actually do this. I just, as a gesture, I'll feel my pulse to remind myself, is that the pulse of Jesus beating in my veins?
That's good.
Am I walking with him? As I begin to understand the power of that in my own life, I'm also seeing that it's taking root in the church.
Yeah, it's
so
amazing to see.
I'll travel about, and I get about a lot in this country, in Canada and abroad, and I'm seeing more and more this phrase appear. Some churches have painted it on the front wall of their entrance in their church building, so that the people who come in there understand this group of people in this building under this roof are talking about Jesus.
Yeah.
Similarly, I see it on letterheads and different kinds of print media. I hear it spoken. I've seen t-shirts, churches that make t-shirts that say Jesus subject, which I promise is a conversation starter.
Yeah.
I loved a church in Arkansas. They sent me a t-shirt that said, Jesus is the subject on the front, and on the back it said, I'm the verb.
That's good.
Even around the world, the concept of Jesus subject in different languages, but with the same idea. Jesus, the centrifugal force, plumb line, and measuring stick of all that we say and do, our ambition and our conduct is taking hold.
Nice.
In fact, Michael, I just last month was traveling abroad with some pastors from the United States. They were guys I didn't know well. They're talking to me on the bus. You know, we're traveling on a bus in the middle of nowhere. This one guy's telling me His church was kind of in a difficult place, and he wasn't sure what to do next, but somehow he was impressed that Jesus is the subject. So at the dawn of 2017, he told his church, for 1 year, we're just going to talk about Jesus. Every sermon, every teaching, every song, everything is going to be about Jesus, and see where it takes us. And he said at the end of 2017, the last Sunday of December and the first Sunday of 2018, the church services on Sundays were devoted to just storytelling, where people gave testimonies, and he said he can't shut them up. The people in his church, all they could talk about is, our lives are changed because we saw Jesus at work here.
Nice,
I started to think like I should act like Jesus. I thought about the power of Jesus. I thought about the call of Jesus and the love of Jesus. In so many ways, he said the whole church has been transformed and made electric because Jesus became the center.
That's good.
Wow.
Yeah.
I want to be there. That's how I want to live. I think that's what's happening. I'm thankful that I can say that Jesus is still stretching me and challenging me and daring me day by day to take my pulse and to see if it matches his own.
Yeah, that's so good. So I'd encourage you to take the pulse of your own life in the same way. What things do you need to say yes to, and what things do you need to say no to if Jesus is the subject? Take the pulse of your church, pastors, and find out, are you saying yes to the right things and saying no to the right things? If Jesus is the subject, that should be a really good, strong plumb line for us making decisions in. So thanks for listening in on this. Blessings to you guys.